What's up, YouTube friends? Today I'm going to show you how fast and easy it is to whip up this pyramid style tablet holder that works great for any tablet or your iPhones. I actually went ahead and made some of these for Christmas for all the younger grandkids and they loved it. Stay tuned and I'll show you how next. The things you're going to need to make this tablet stand are one piece of fabric that measures 12 inches by 9 inches, one piece of 1/2 inch ribbon that measures 4 inches, one piece of cardboard that measures 1 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. You're also going to need about 2 cups of dried rice and some poly-fil. I got this big bag for $1.99 at the Goodwill. I'll also be using my iron and ironing board and my sewing machine with matching thread. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is fold my fabric in half the long ways. Just like that. So now I should have a rectangle that measures 9 inches by 6 inches. Then I'm going to measure from the fold over 1 inch and stick a pin. From that pin, I'm going to measure over 1.5 inches and stick another pin. Now we're just going to take this over to the sewing machine and using a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to back stitch here at the beginning and I'm going to sew until I hit my first pin and back stitch. Now I like to go over that 2 or 3 times. I'm then just going to jump over to this next pin, leaving this open, back stitch, and I'm going to sew down this side. When I get a 1/4 inch away, I'm going to stop with my needle down, spin, and sew this seam all the way down, back stitching at the end. I'll meet you over at the sewing machine. Alright guys, so I'm over here at my sewing machine. Today I'll be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance with a straight stitch, and my length is a 2.5. Now I still have my walking foot on here, but it is not necessary for this project. So I'm going to back stitch at the beginning. And I'm going to sew up to my first needle. So now I'm just going to back stitch about 3 or 4 times. Now I'm just going to raise my presser foot and go to the next pin. And I'm going to back stitch 3 or 4 times there also. And just keep sewing. When I get a 1/4 inch away from the end, I'm going to stop with my needle down, raise my presser foot and spin, and just finish my seam off. And don't forget to back stitch at the end. So it should look just like this. Here's where I started, my 1.5 inch opening, and I sewed all the way down 2 sides, leaving this bottom open. Next, I'm going to pick up my project, I'm going to fold it the opposite way. So I'm going to match up this seam with our fold. Just like that. And at this point, it's a good idea to take it to your ironing board and you want to press this seam open. Now you don't have to do the whole seam, just about 3 to 5 inches up. Next, I'm going to take my 4-inch piece of ribbon, I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to come in 1 inch and stick my ribbon. Just like that, and I like to leave 1/8 to even 1/4 inch of my ribbon sticking out. And just so it doesn't move, I'm going to stick a pin. Now from the edge of my ribbon, I'm going to measure down 1.5 inches. You could do 1.25 inches if you want. The bigger your opening, the more hand sewing you have to do. So I'm going to come in about 1.25 inches and stick a pin. So now I'm just going to take this back over to my sewing machine, and with that same 1/4 inch seam allowance, using a straight stitch, I'm going to start right here and backstitch, and I'm going to sew till I get to the end of my ribbon. And I like to go over my ribbon about 2 or 3 times when I backstitch. I'm going to jump over to this needle, leaving this open, backstitch, and finish off my seam, backstitching at the end. Alright guys, so I'm still using that straight stitch, and my length is still a 2.5. So this time I'm going to sew right up to the end of my ribbon and backstitch 3 or 4 times. Advance it to the next pin, leaving this open, backstitch 3 or 4 times, and keep sewing till you get to the end and backstitch. Once you have this seam sewn with your opening still open, I'm going to go back to the opposite seam and we're going to turn this right side out. So I just stick my finger in here, grab my loop, and then just pull the rest through. Now using my stuffing stick or anything that you have that's not sharp, I'm just going to make sure that my seams are nice and flat and my corners are nice and sharp. So you should have something that looks like this. It's starting to come together. At this point, I'm going to take it to my ironing board and I'm going to press this seam nice and flat and also this seam nice and flat. That's going to help us with our hand sewing later. But because I use this ribbon, it will melt, so just be very careful. Now from our bottom seam, the one that does not have the ribbon, I'm going to measure up 3 inches, and with a piece of chalk, I'm going to draw a line. My ruler just happens to be 3 inches, so it makes it a little easier. And just draw your line. Now I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but our next step is we're going to take this back to our sewing machine with that straight stitch, and I'm going to sew directly on this line, backstitching at the beginning and the end. Now I'm not too worried about my chalk line because all you have to really do is just rub it down. You can lick your finger a little bit and it will go away. So now you just want to take your piece of cardboard and we're going to insert it in our pocket right here. Now if you're using a cardboard box like I am and it has writing on the back, you want that to be facing down. If you're using a light colored fabric, this will show through. So we're on 1.5 inch opening. I'm going to stick my cardboard. Now this part can be a little tricky. You don't want to crease your cardboard, but you are going to have to kind of bend it a little bit to fit in that hole. Just like that. And you want to push it right up against the seam. Now with my chalk, I can feel where the edge of the cardboard is. So I'm just going to take my chalk and make a line right along the edge. Now I'm just going to take this back over to my sewing machine with that same straight stitch, backstitching at the beginning and the end. I'm going to sew right on my chalk line, being careful not to hit my cardboard. Now at this step, grab some poly-fil. So with my poly-fil, I'm going to stuff this little chamber. I just like to take a little bit at a time, stuff it in there. And you want to stuff it pretty firm, but just keep in mind that you're going to need a hand sew this closed. So do what's comfortable for you. Sometimes I find it helpful to use my stuffing stick and make sure it's down in these corners. So one tip I can give you is like I like to overstuff to the sides. That way I can close this up, sew it, and then just smush it all around to make it nice and even. So this is pretty good. So I'm going to close this up and stick a pin. When you finish stuffing this, you want to grab your 2 cups of rice and a funnel. Now ideally, I wish this hole was a little bigger. It does tend to get clogged, but I'm going to stick this in the opening with my loop and slowly and carefully add my 2 cups of rice. Once you got your 2 cups of rice in here, the next part you want to do is fill the rest up with poly-fil. Now this pyramid, you want it nice and tight. After a while, when the rice starts to mix with the poly-fil, you might end up with a slouchy tablet stand, and nobody wants that. So once again, I just like to take little pieces and stuff it full. Now once you have it stuffed to your liking, go ahead and pinch your opening closed and stick a pin. Now the final thing you're going to do is close your openings. Today I'll be using a ladder stitch, and unfortunately we're going to have to hand sew this. Now I am not very good at hand sewing, so it might be in your best interest to go watch a few more videos on the ladder stitch, but I'm going to try my best today. So I have a piece of thread here with a knot at the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my needle and I'm going to come up from the inside. That's just to hide our knot. Now when we iron this, it left 2 nice little creases. That's exactly where our needle needs to go. So on the upper side here, I'm going to put my needle in through that crease and come out about 1/8 of an inch away. Next, I'm going to come directly across, put my needle in that crease, and come out about 1/4 inch away. Now, if you're making these for children, you may want to do 1/8 of an inch or even less. I have a feeling these might get tossed about a bit, and you don't want rice coming out. So now I'm going to go back to the top, directly across where my needle came out. I hope you guys can see this. Go into that crease and come out about 1/4 inch away. I'll do a few more. Go directly below. Put your needle in that crease and come out 1/4 inch away. Now you can see there why they call that the ladder stitch, and when you give it a nice tug, it just disappears. So I'm just going to keep on sewing this, and I'll show you what to do at the end. Alright guys, so I'm at the end of my seam here. So I'm going to put my needle back down. And I'm going to come up right where my thread ended. Now with this loop here, I'm going to just stick my needle through and pull it tight. Now you may want to do that a couple times if you're making this for kids. Now just to bury that knot, I'm going to stick my needle right where my knot is. and then just come out the side somewhere. And just give it a little pull, and your knot will get buried down in there. Now just clip your thread. If you have any fuzzies or anything like that hanging out, just pull them off. And now I'm just going to mush this to make sure it's nice and even all around. Now, of course, you want to do the exact same thing to the back. Alright guys, and just like that, our tablet holder is finished. This one I made for myself, and I think it looks great. Now this little loop is not only just for carrying it around if you want to, but when you're charging your tablet, you can stick your cord up through there. That way it won't fall off the counter or anything like that. Now I bought this case for my tablet to protect the screen, and it had a built-in stand, which you can see doesn't always work. You have to get it just right for it to stand up right. And I like to watch movies and TV shows on my tablet when I'm in bed, and that is not ideal when I have it on my chest. So with this, I just put this on my chest, set my tablet in, and I'm ready to go. I hope you give this video a try. If you like this video and want to see more of my videos, go down below and hit the big red subscribe button, and give this video a big thumbs up. If you'd like to be notified as to when I post a video, hit that bell button. If you have a question about this video or any of my other videos, or would just like to leave a suggestion for a future upcoming video, leave me a comment. Head on over to Facebook and Twitter at Scrappy's Patch if you'd like to friend me there. Feel free to share this video across your social medias. And as always, thanks for watching. Happy sewing. And I'll see you next time.